AfD. Are they neo-Nazis? The AfD curse? It can be no coincidence that 3 leaders in AfD's 12 years have resigned in frustration at apparent mounting radicalism. Even though political games are clearly being played both within the party and outside it, that must tell you something. Perhaps it is just a high-pressure role and hence a poisoned chalice, like the UKIP job when Farage left, or the England manager role, now also held by a German. Perhaps the establishment has ways of getting to its leaders, or maybe there genuinely is a problem with a growing illiberal contingent that won't allow a centrist course to be held. That doesn't mean the contingent is fascist or neo-Nazi, but it might mean it is intransigent and hardline. One faction has ultimately got to lose, and the party may succeed or fail depending on the winner. All radical parties on the left and right have this problem, a battle between ideological purity and mainstream acceptance. Even more established parties are vulnerable to infiltration. See the Labour Party in 2015, or the Republicans in 2016. Farage has kept a tight grip on his parties because he doesn't want them to become too extreme and thus unpalatable. He doesn't mind who votes for him in the polling booth, but he does care about optics. Vidal and Remigration. If Alice Vidal is a neo-Nazi, she is certainly not typical. She is a lesbian dating a Sri Lankan woman and supports civil partnerships. The couple have even adopted 2 children. Like Beatrix von Storck, her grandfather was a Nazi employee, a politically appointed judge, but she has herself dismissed the Nazis as authoritarian socialists, going against her economically libertarian instincts. These economic ideas are often cited by those arguing the AfD are not neo-Nazis or fascists, and it's a fair point. Although the Nazis weren't really socialists in my view, despite the name and some of their roots, they were big state and only allowed those who towed the line to own industries and corporations. Vidal's personal assistant and a former AfD national MP, Roland Hartwig, was fired in 2024 after it emerged he and 5 other AfD figures had attended a secretive meeting on remigration. The Potsdam meeting on November 25, 2023, featured as a speaker the co-founder of the Identitarian movement, Martin Sellner. The Identitarian movement started in Austria, and along with its youth wing, Generation Identity, spread across various European countries. It attracted much concern and controversy in 2017, with ideas that were considered by many ethno-nationalist, vehemently anti-Islam, and even neo-fascist. In the wake of the Trump victory, it enjoyed uptake in America and other Anglosphere countries. Generation Identity was the group that the Canadian journalist Lauren Southern associated with, and received a ban from the UK as a result. It favoured direct activism and ethnically exclusive association. Remigration is a popular concept on the dissident right, and is subscribed to in a mild form by AfD. There is much debate on it now, exactly what it means and how feasible it is. Essentially, it aims to repatriate people of a non-native background, mostly non-citizens, to their home countries. The exact details, however, are contested. Some believe that all foreign-born or even foreign-descended citizens should be stripped of their passports and deported. Others say this should only happen to citizens that do not assimilate. There are those who argue dual citizens should have to choose one passport or the other. Then there are voices calling for residency permits to be removed, but not citizenship. At the lower level, you have the position only asylum seekers should be sent back, if not immediately, then once their countries are deemed safe again. Another position is that none of this should be forced, but it could be done on a voluntary basis by offering financial incentives. This was the view Enoch Powell had. To clarify my view, I should say that forcibly removing citizenship, except in extreme circumstances, such as defecting to the enemy in a time of war, must not happen. Neither must deportation of citizens. It would be illiberal and a slippery slope. We should not give out citizenship so easily, and must drastically reduce immigration, but we can't retroactively apply this policy. Similarly, existing residency permits should be honoured if the migrants abide by our laws, but we should not keep issuing more. On asylum seekers, there is a case for simply refusing them, especially from very dangerous countries like Afghanistan. This would necessitate ignoring or leaving the ECHR. I would advocate detaining all asylum claimants and sending them to safe third countries or overseas territories. I am open to voluntary repatriation of migrants, or the descendants of migrants, with a cash incentive, although you would have to do that across the board and not just for particular races, religions, or ethnicities. It might not be feasible, but I don't consider it immoral. As for AfD, their manifesto for the 2025 federal election makes clear that for them, remigration concerns only illegal immigrants, foreign criminals, rejected asylum seekers, and refugees deemed no longer to be at threat. There has been a significant lack of enforcement in implementation for years, deporting illegal immigrants and rejected asylum seekers. AfD will immediately end this enforcement deficit. Our catalogue of measures to reverse this migration policy state failure is called Remigration and includes the following measures, which already correspond to the current legal situation. If the reason for fleeing in the country of origin of recognized asylum seekers no longer applies, their residence permit usually ends. You must return. Regarding residency and citizenship, the party's website makes clear, AfD does not differentiate between German citizens with and without a migration background. All Germans are part of our national people, regardless of origin, descent, worldview, or religious affiliation. Unconstitutional demands, such as arbitrary collective deportation of foreigners, regardless of an existing individual right of residence, or even the deportation of German citizens with a migration background, meet our firm rejection. The manifesto states that AfD want to phase out dual citizenship, except in special instances, and that the only aspect of citizenship they will legally change is the right of automatic citizenship by being born in Germany. This is the same position as Donald Trump, who is trying to abolish that law in the USA. We want to remove the place of birth principle, acquisition of German citizenship solely through birth in Germany, even if neither parent is German, from the law, and return to the descent principle, as it applied until the year 2000. Dual citizenship should be limited to well-founded special cases. Multiple nationalities, apart from justified exceptions, pose the risk of conflicts of loyalty and must therefore be ruled out again in the future. The Potsdam meeting covered the various permutations of remigration, from the mild to the more extreme. Its intended secrecy was blown wide open by Corrective, a German investigative journalism outfit. They inserted a mole into the meeting, having presumably stumped up the pricey attendance fee, and everything that happened, everything incriminating at least, was reported. The two other AfD politicians in attendance were Gerrit Hoy, a national MP, and Ulrich Siegmund, a Saxony-Anhalt MP and leader. Two AfD press spokesmen, Tim Kraus and Patrick Haar, were also present. So too was Mario Müller, a research assistant of the AfD national MP Jan Wenzel-Schmidt. Müller is a member of the Identitarians and apparently has convictions for violence. Gernot Morik, the co-founder of the supposedly neo-Nazi group Andreas Kalbitz had been involved in, was also present. Incidentally, so were two CDU members. Corrective reported Martin Sellner identified 3 groups a remigration policy must involve: asylum seekers, people with residency permits, and unassimilated citizens. The exposé claims nobody from AfD objected to this, but were only interested in how such a plan would work. AfD claimed the attendance of the party figures was unofficial and in their capacity as individual citizens. Wiedel said it was a completely irrelevant event and suggested Hartwig's attendance and contribution was a communication error. Sorry, but that sounds like the weasel words of Starmer whenever he gets in trouble. Only Hartwig was reprimanded because of his proximity to Wiedel. One wonders if Wiedel knew he was attending or if he would have been fired had the meeting not been made public. You could definitely call the content of the Potsdam meeting extreme, but whether it was neo-Nazi or damning evidence of AfD's underlying fascism is debatable. Certainly there are parallels with some of Hitler's policies. Deportation was definitely considered before mass murder took effect, and there were rigid ideas of what a true German is. It doesn't automatically mean remigration, if it can ever happen at all, would follow the same progression. Nor does this version necessarily involve Jewish people, who are fully integrated with European cultures now and are as alarmed about Islam as their Gentile compatriots. For AfD figures to support blanket remigration, however, in the company of more extreme groups, doesn't look good. The party must not have anything to do with such things, and should just represent their own, very appealing, policy platform.